Reacher took every completed minute to be a small victory. A prison riot could not last forever. Its initial phase would be relatively short. Hostages would be taken, territory would be seized, a standoff would ensue. Tactical adjustments would be made. The corrections officers would regroup. The cops would be released from duty. Reacher knew that. Therefore, the guy knew that too. Reacher didn't understand why he didn't come. His target was an old woman in a house. What was he waiting for? At 10:30, Janet Salter volunteered to make coffee. Reacher wouldn't let her. Maybe that was what the guy was waiting for. Percolator needed water. Water came from the faucet. The faucet was over the sink. The sink was under the window. Far below to even guess at a number. He stepped back in. Nobody was waiting out there for a target of opportunity. Impossible. After a minute, you'd be shaking too hard to see, let alone shoot. After an hour, you'd be in a coma. After 2, you'd be dead. Which thoughts clarified things a little. There would be no long, stealthy approach on foot through the snow. The danger would come from the front. The guy would have to drive up, jump out, and move fast. So after the percolator finished gulping and hissing, Reacher poured 2 mugs and carried them back to the parlor, where he told Janet Salter they would alternate spells at the window, 10 minutes on, 10 minutes off, all through the next hour. Reacher tracked back around the trunk, his knees passing through a small white cloud of exhaust, and back along the far flank of the car to the front passenger door. He put his gloved hand on the handle and opened it up, crouched down. Peterson stared at him through sightless eyes. Fairly close range. There were faint burns on the skin and faint powder tattoos. About 5 feet, probably. There was no exit wound. The bullet was still inside Peterson's head, crushed and deformed and tumbled. Unusual for a 9mm at close range, but not impossible. Clearly, Peterson's skull had been thick. There was no doubt he was dead. Reacher knew enough about ballistics and human biology, and he'd seen enough dead people to be absolutely sure. But still he checked. He took off his glove and put warm, twinned fingers on the cold skin behind Peterson's ear. No pulse. Nothing at all, except the waxy feel of a corpse, part soft, part hard, both solid and insubstantial. Already completely alien to a living touch. Reacher put his glove back on. The car's transmission was controlled by a lever on a steering column. It was still in drive. The heater was set at 70 degrees. The radio volume was turned down very low. There were regular gasps of quiet static and occasional murmuring voices, all of them unintelligible. Okay, Reacher said. What to do about the dead lawyer? All those photographs, you told him what to do about the dead biker. You discussed things. He was going to be the next chief. He wanted to be a good one. He was ready to listen to anybody. I didn't tell him to go searching for the shooter all alone in the middle of the night. He wanted to break the case. You all do. He wanted your respect. Or yours, Reacher said. Maybe he was trying to live up to the bullshit you put on the radio tonight. About the meth, you made him feel like a fraud. Silence for a beat. Holland asked, "What happened here?" Reacher said, "He saw someone in the lot, almost certainly in a car or a truck, too cold to be on foot. He drove in, a wide circle."
turned on his radio and opened his window, ready to talk, but the guy just went ahead and shot him. He fell over and died, and his foot slipped off the brake. The car drove itself into the wall. Ain't Basic set up as a lawyer? Pretty much. Was it quick? Headshots usually are. They went quiet. Just stood, shivered in the freezing air. Holland said, "Should we look for a shell case?" Reacher shook his head. "Same deal as the lawyer. The shell case ejected inside the shooter's vehicle." Holland didn't speak. Reacher could see the question on his face. Who was the guy? It was right there in his eyes. An awkward question with an unappealing answer. Reacher said, "Now I see why you wanted me here. You wanted me to be the one to reach the conclusion and say it out loud. Me, not you. An independent
independent voice. Holland didn't speak. Reacher said, "Okay, let's not go there. Not just yet." But at the time, things had seemed very real. Reacher had been 2 years old at the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis in the Pacific. He had known nothing about it. But later, his mother had told him how she and his father had calculated the southern drift of the poisoned wind. 2 weeks, they thought. There were guns in the house. And on the base, there were corpsmen with pills. Reacher asked, "How accurate are your weather reports?" Peterson said, "Usually pretty good. They're calling for snow again tomorrow." "That sounds about right. Then someone's gonna show up soon. They didn't plow that runway for nothing."